Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Growing a Deeply Rooted Business podcast. If you have ever felt like you are carrying your entire business in your brain and it feels like it's about to explode, then today's episode is going to be for you and it's going to feel like a breath of fresh air, hopefully. Today, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite topics is how to get more done with less effort by building your own AI assistants, using automations, and setting up your systems in Notion. So this is all going to be about how to help your business feel lighter and working smarter, not harder.
I love this because I think there's so many people right now, especially in just the way of, how 2024, we all kind of had this slump and then it picked back up. And now, with everything going on in the world, people are really pulling back with their budgets and like not bringing on assistants or not having VAs and all of that. So, we're really kind of having the need to do more, but not having necessarily the means to do more. So, Jess has always transformed my brain in the way that like she tells me to do things in my business. And I'm always like, yes, why didn't I think of that? So I think this is really important if you are in a current season of your business where maybe you are operating with less support than you have, but you still need to operate at the extent and at the level that you have been working at. This is really one of those things that like be a sponge and absorb everything because Jess is a genius when it comes to this topic. And, this is just really, really fascinating.
My name is Jess. I am your sustainable growth strategist, and I'm here with Rachel, our marketing mastermind. And this is truly one of my favorite topics. I truly believe that $1 million companies are going to be run by like solopreneurs or can be in the near future due to all of the advances we're seeing in AI. It's such a hard field to kind of keep up with because things are changing every day and you can learn how to do things every day and automation. So I'm excited to share. So let's talk about AI, specifically ChatGPT, because that is basically where I live and breathe every day. ChatGPT, if you're not using it, I'm sure you're using it at some capacity by now. I hope you're using it at some capacity by now. It's been, really mass marketed probably for like 2 years. And I think we're beginning to see just kind of how to kind of level up and truly utilize it. I think one of the best ways to get familiar with using it is just keeping it open on your desktop and challenging yourself to see like, what can I get this computer to take off of my plate today, or how can it help me? I think at this point, I call my AI my coworker because almost every single task that I do at some point goes through ChatGPT, whether it is refining a Slack message so that I can communicate more closely with the teams I'm working with, whether it is brainstorming a Notion dashboard and it's kind of telling me like how it would build it, whether it's creating my weekly email newsletter. I've got a custom AI created to help me draft that. It truly can do everything. Like last week, I was even playing around, kind of almost using it like a coach, and only use this prompt if you have thick skin. But I asked it to, based on everything it knows about me, to point out my areas of opportunity or my growth edges. And then my next prompt was like, don't
Don't hurt my feelings.
no, like be ruthless, like tell me the things other people are scared to tell me. And
Oh my
it's
God, it's
so
never.
crazy how pretty much spot on it was with like knowing about me, because it knows the prompts that I give it or how I like ask it to adjust things so that it's like kind of in my tone. So it really does know me. And I was like, ouch, like you really you really know me. And this is all true. And then my next prompt was, of course, like make this actionable. How can I like weave this into my next moves, or how can I help overcome this? But it was a really fun prompt to do. It definitely was like kind of using it in the sense of a coach.
Yeah. I think that that's going to be like one of the key things for people who maybe have dabbled in AI, but like don't necessarily get good outputs. It really is in the prompts. And this is why like it's so important to refine and refine and refine. Like when you're creating these prompts, or if like you're like what you put in, you're going to get out. So if you're like, give me a shopping list and this has no context of what you like to eat, what you want to do, how many times a night you eat kind of thing, of course you're gonna be like, well, this is useless. I can't do anything with this. So really like the amount of information that you put into your prompt and then how structured it is going to reduce that output that feels robotic, that feels not useful or anything like that. So it's kind of like practice makes perfect, and you have to really give it a chance to optimize essentially. But yeah, I think it's so valuable for people who are not, with the budget to have 5 people doing things. So I think that's so fascinating that you took it in the way of the coaching, because I also see a huge shift where people aren't necessarily hiring coaches lately to make these hard conversations, pep talks, and things like that. So fascinating.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah.
fascinating.
I mean, I think the key is treating your AI or your ChatGPT kind of like an employee, but a really, really smart employee because it can remember things that you can't remember. One of my other favorite things to do with it is like to teach it like strategy. So that's where kind of building these custom AIs come into play is where I can train it on specific strategy and I'm not having to reprompt it every time. So in my ChatGPT, I have like a social media assistant who is trained to write social media content with the strategy that I gave it. I have my email newsletter assistant who knows my like 4-piece email newsletter assistant. I have a YouTube assistant who I've trained all about like YouTube SEO based on like other courses I've taken. I'm just kind of like feeding that information into the GPT and it can remember it and integrate it so much better than I ever would. But I think is the key is like it's just like an employee, the more you put into it, the more you're gonna get out of it. It's the same with AI.
Totally. I
And I could
completely agree with that.
definitely nerd out on AI for all day, but in the spirit of time, we're going to move on to automations. So we definitely have touched on automations in our email marketing series that we did, but I just love this too because it's all about kind of like optimizing and doing more with less. And specifically, like that's why we did a whole maybe 2 episodes on quizzes. And I think that quizzes are kind of a way that you can multiply yourself and outside of putting the traffic into the quiz can really take care of like all of the nurturing and the selling once you get that funnel specifically set up. And I know Rachel's can probably add a lot more to email automations.
And this is kind of like I've been saying this before, like AI, before all of these like major platforms started pushing out automations, is that when you're having like, let's say when like selling in the DMs was like this huge, huge push in the online space. And the biggest opportunity there was that you are literally repeating yourself constantly. You're saying the exact same thing. You're answering the same questions. You're kind of going through all of this thing. Like essentially you're building relationships, you're building trust points and all of that. And the easiest way to get yourself like out of the weeds, because not everybody has time to sit there and have 4 hours worth of conversations in the DMs. Like I hardly ever open Instagram anymore just because of how busy I am. And it's just wild to think that like yeah, you can outsource that, but you have an email platform as well that you can say, oh, here, this is actually a great resource. Download this, whatever lead magnet. Don't call it a lead magnet to your leads because and then their nurture sequence is going to be the thing that's answering the questions that they have, building and hitting on those trust points. Like when you have all of those data points of saying, like, I've had this conversation literally 25 times. Therefore, this conversation is going to be more useful in an automated nurture sequence than me saying the exact same thing every single time in like conversations. If you just set up a system to be like, oh my gosh, I actually have the perfect resource for you. Here, download this, and it'll answer all of your questions. And you've built out that nurture sequence. That is doing more with less because you have set up a system to then build that relationship that is hands off. And that's something that I always call like the curated experience, because even in social, like if you're in the DMs and you're having those conversations and that's where you're like converting, it's really important to understand that like if you forget about that person for a day or two, you are not delivering a curated experience. You are delivering an uncurated experience where they're sitting there wondering like, oh damn, did she ghost me or what happened? Blah, blah, blah. This is so important to use the systems that your email platforms, marketing platforms have the capabilities of, because trust building and relationship building is a curated, very, very client experience effort that you should be putting your like resources into.
Yeah. I mean, outside of email, there's a ton of different automations that you can do with things like Zapier or Make. But I think the key thing that comes back to all of this is like first perfecting your manual system and then evaluating that manual system to say, what task am I repeating over and over? And how can I leverage technology to complete this task for me? I think sometimes people try to skip through like the system part and like jump straight to like automating everything. But if you don't know if it works or if you don't like have a really good routine around to support that system, then it's probably just going to create way more noise in your business than actually help you.
Yeah, and I notice a lot of people spend a lot more time than necessary building out these automation points whenever they haven't built out that, like, what do I need? Kind of like your little checklist of all of the things that you're actually planning on automating. And they just sit there and they kind of say, like, oh, I need to do this, 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 and this. And then it doesn't ever get utilized. So don't waste more time by just jumping straight to automation. Like, really map it out intentionally is that's key as well.
So the third thing is just building your entrepreneur brain in a project management system or Notion. That's my preferable system. I think one of the traps that a lot of entrepreneurs fall in because we are visionaries is that we tend to always want to create new. And when you're a solopreneur, it's really important to kind of leverage because you're leveraging your time, you don't have a lot of it, to leverage things that you've already created, or how can you repurpose or reuse things that are already done? And it's a lot easier to do that when you have a second brain that's storing all of this information for you. So, for example, today, actually, before this call, I've been working on creating a marketing, I don't know what I'm calling it yet, but it's like a marketing hub, basically, where it's storing all of my clients' products that are already created. And then what I'm doing is linking them to the different emails that were created around the product, the landing pages that were created around the product, linking them to the social media that was created around the product. So you can pull up this one product page and see all the social media, all of the emails, all of the landing pages, all of the testimonials that we've collected for this particular product, and then all of the surveys that we've sent out around this product so that we're not having to start from scratch every time we go to launch it. So when we go to launch it, even if we're bringing in a new copywriter, a new graphic designer, I'm able to pull them in and be like, this is what we've created so far. What can we reuse? What needs to be just tweaked a little bit to really kind of make us more efficient when we are marketing our products?
That is fascinating, and I literally have a client that needs that because every single time we're planning a call or planning a launch, it's like, "Hey, can you pull the emails that we did for the last launch around this topic?" And we're constantly just going into our Google Drive and saying like, "Okay, here are the emails," making a copy of that and like refreshing them and stuff, and like, that's so needed. Oh my gosh, we have to talk offline about that. I need that.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is like when people are like, because people are really attached to their Google Drive, and I am a firm believer that when you start using Notion, all of your documents should be in Notion too, and it's because of that ability to be able to link things and pull in different information, and now Notion even has its own AI system within it, and you can actually type into its AI and ask it about your information. So like, when's the last time I launched this, or what is this? And it'll like go through your whole database because once you've been in there for a while, you're going to have pages and pages of stuff and it'll find the answers for you. So it truly is building this external brain of your business when you're putting all the information about your business into Notion.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I definitely am like my brain just isn't it's not designed to I need more Jess in my life. Because my brain is not designed to be like, let me input all my tasks. It's like, don't worry, brain, we got this. And then we don't have that. And so things end up kind of like, but yeah, this is so needed because when you're trying to do so much and you're relying on your brain when you're, task switching 100 times a day, you can't trust the things that, there's gooey, sticky traps in my brain where things get stuck and they never, ever, ever leave. And this is so necessary for anybody that's doing 100 different things at once.
All right. So I hope you found this. I mean, this is a really quick episode, and I think any one of these topics we could dive deeper into it. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely shoot us a DM, let us know. This is basically what I do. Like this whole scope of work is how to help you get things done faster in less time if you're a solopreneur or if you have a small team. So if you need any assistance with this definitely reach out to me. Visit us at thelaunchcollaborative.com and we will get you set up with all of these systems so that you can work less and enjoy the great outdoors more.
Let's do a quick recap. Okay. So you're trying to get more done with less time as people are pulling their budgets back, and you're really maybe in that situation as well. First things you want to do is really lean into AI. Understanding prompts are everything. Jess and I are working on this amazing digital product right now that is going to blow your mind when it comes to this. But really making sure that lean into the robots. Say please and thank you, but lean into the robot. Create your own AI assistants to help you with things that maybe you don't necessarily have budget for, social media, copywriting, system planning, mapping, all of that stuff. That's one way. And the second thing we were talking about is automations that build relationships. So think lead magnet, nurture sequences, Notion, or not Notion, Zapier. I always use Zapier for like tagging and for triggering certain things that maybe my active campaign can't trigger. All of these things that really just take a tiny little 5-second task off your to-do list and puts it into the hands of just like autopilot kind of thing is absolutely amazing. And then lastly is getting everything out of your brain and putting it into a place where when you are ready to bring somebody on board or you are ready to see things in a more holistic version of things versus just kind of like, let me meditate on this and what's going to come up for me to do today. Really leaning into things like Notion, project management platforms. I used to be a big ClickUp girl, and now I am all Notion through and through. And it's just because it's so powerful to have just an entire like HQ of everything. You can have clients, you can have your own internal processes and organizations and systems going in there. So it's just absolutely powerful when you start to embrace these systems, automations, and robots. They really do help you operate at a multi-person team level, even as a solopreneur. So just a quick little recap. And if you like this episode, really quick and dirty, kind of one of those, let us know. Share it with your biz bestie. And then until next time,
We're
we're
rooting for you.